As we wait to learn the identities of two badly decomposed bodies, police turn their attention to finding a car that's missing from the crime scene. Good evening, I'm Don Lark. It's been ruled a double homicide, and police were on scene for a second day at a home on Falls Avenue in Watertown. Inside, a foul odor led police to two bodies, a man and a woman. What they didn't find is also of interest today, a car. We have team coverage tonight. News 8's Bob Wilson was on the story when it broke. He's back out at the crime scene this evening.
Well, right now, state police are still on the scene. They're processing the inside of the house where the two bodies were found. Police say they were badly decomposed bodies, very difficult to identify. They're still working to identify the people who are inside the house right now, and they're also waiting to notify next of kin, so there's no update on the ID of the victims at this time. However, the police department here in Watertown has got all hands on deck. They've been working throughout the night. The police chief, deputy chief, everybody has been working, chasing down leads, and they did release an interesting lead. They said the people who live here owned a 2007 gray Lincoln Town Car, and they do have a license plate number that they released. It is 235WUL. It's a Connecticut plate, and the back bumper is held on primarily with tape at this point, duct tape, they say. So if you see that vehicle, don't approach the people at this point. Back off, call police, they want to know immediately, and they are working other leads in this case right now, and they're asking for the public's help with that license plate number, and they say hopefully tomorrow, sometime during the afternoon, they'll have a big press conference on this whole thing, bringing us up to date on the latest conditions. We're in Watertown. Bob Wilson, News 8.
Thank you, Bob. Bob just mentioned it. Here's that information again on the car that's missing from the crime scene. It's a 2007 gray Lincoln Town Car. The license plate reads 235WUL. The rear bumper, as Bob said, is being held on by duct tape. If you see the car, call police. And while police have yet to identify the bodies, neighbors say they're familiar with the two people that live there, a mother and her son. And while neighbors were startled to learn of the homicides, they tell News 8's Kent Pierce police are no strangers to the home.
It started with a terrible smell coming from 347 Falls Avenue, but neighbors are used to strange things at that address.
In fact, I know there was a medical call up there, not this last week, but the week before. Somebody was having some difficulty breathing, and they did take that person to the hospital. So it's not unusual to have police or an ambulance there at least once or twice a week.
They say a mother in her 50s and her son in his 20s lived in that house. Police found two dead bodies in there, causing that awful smell. Neighbors tell me there were often loud family fights preceding those 911 calls.
It does have a lot of activity going on, and it did make people in the area worried about the activities.
Neighbors say it didn't used to be like this. That house used to be very quiet. It was a couple living there. Then she passed away. He was older and had a live-in nurse come live with him, and then he passed away, and it's actually the live-in nurse and her son who've been living there for the past year or so. And in the last few months, a new couple had also started living in that house. Neighbors weren't sure if they were paying rent or what, but they did not make it any less strange.
They were very friendly and all. But they were selling a lot of stuff out of the house, big items. So it was definitely a money issue.
And then about a week ago, this house did get very quiet, and now we know why.
We have a nice neighborhood. Yeah, and this is a shock to the neighborhood. I mean, it's not something that we expected to hear had gone on.
It turns out nothing prepared the neighborhood for two homicides in that house. In Watertown, I'm Kent Pierce, News 8.